The Ballad of the Broken Lecture Hall. Oh, gather round, my disillusioned darlings, and let me tell you the tragic tale of my time at Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego, Warsaw place, where dreams go to die a slow, bureaucratic death. Picture this, a grand institution, nestled in the woods like some forgotten relic of the past, where the air smells of stale textbooks and crushed ambitions. I arrived, bright-eyed, clutching my notebooks like sacred texts, only to discover that the professors here do not teach thee preside over the slow decay of curiosity. Let us begin with the administration. The administration. A labyrinth of red tape so thick you could weave a funeral shroud from it. Need a simple document processed? Too bad. The system is designed not to help, but to punish you for daring to ask. I once watched a student beg for a deadline extension just one day only to be met with a sneer, and a lecture on responsibility from a woman whose desk was buried under 6 months of unopened mail. The cruelty is not accidental, it is policy. And the facilities, oh, sweet suffering saints facilities. Classrooms frozen in time, untouched since the Cold War, where the heating system seems to operate on pure spite. In October, they blast the air conditioning like we are tropical plants, leaving us shivering in our coats, fingers too numb to write. By November, silence, no heat, just the slow, creeping realization that we are less like students and more like forgotten lab rats in some sadistic experiment. But the professors, egos so vast they could eclipse the sun. Address one as doctor instead of professor. Prepare for a public flogging. They do not teach. They perform, lecturing in monotone while checking their watches, as if we are an inconvenience between them and their next coffee break. And do not dare suggest innovation, oh no. The regulations forbid it. Why adapt when you can hide behind century-old rules like a coward? And the education itself, what a joke. Lectures reduced to watching films because the professor could not be bothered. Assignments graded not on merit, but on whether you bowed deeply enough to their self-importance. The library. A graveyard of outdated texts, where the most recent research is from the era of dial-up internet. But the worst part? The isolation. No clubs, no community, just a hollow campus where students drift like ghosts, too exhausted to even complain. The university does not care if you learn. It does not care if you survive. It exists only to exist, a monument to mediocrity. So here I stand, a survivor of this academic wasteland, warning you, do not come here. Do not give them your money, your time, your hope. This is not a university, it is a tomb for ambition. And yet I still dream of what it could have been. But dreams, my dears, do not thrive in graveyards.
I am looking into crimes near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego Warsaw, and I feel so tired already. You know, businesses near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego Warsaw are often tiny souvenir stores that promise authentic Polish crafts, but actually sell cheap knockoffs. One tourist bought a hand-painted wooden box for a very high price, then later discovered the paint was just cheap acrylic, and the wood was pine. The shop owner gave a fake receipt and disappeared when the victim asked for a refund. The victim probably went back to the hotel feeling cheated, tried to contact the police, and may have written a bad review online. The scammer likely moved to another street corner and hopes a new tourist will not recognize the pattern. The outcome is that the tourist loses money and trust, while the fraudulent shop continues until authorities finally notice a pattern. Businesses near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego Warsaw also include currency exchange kiosks that look official but charge hidden fees. A visitor exchanged a few €100, received a receipt showing a fair rate, but later found the cash amount was much less than promised. The kiosk employee smiled and said the difference was a service charge that was not written down. The victim probably tried to dispute the amount at the hotel front desk, felt embarrassed and maybe left Poland sooner than planned. The scammer probably closed the kiosk for a day to avoid immediate complaint and will reopen with the same trick for the next group of tourists. The likely consequence is a small financial loss for the visitor and a continuation of the illegal practice until a complaint reaches a consumer protection office. Businesses near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego Warsaw sometimes run fake ticket offices for city tour. A tourist bought a skip the line pass for the old town, paid cash, and received a printed ticket that was later marked as invalid at the gate. The clerk told the visitor that the system was down and offered a refund that never arrived. The victim probably returned to the hostel feeling angry, posted the experience on social media and maybe avoided any further purchases from street vendors. The scammer likely collected the cash and vanished, hoping the complaint will not be traced back. The result is wasted time and money for the tourist and another unchecked fraud near the university.
Businesses near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego, Warsaw, suffer from a severe lack of integrity. These establishments do not care about their customers. Rude service, deceptive pricing, and outright scams are common. If you are a traveler visiting this area, prepare to feel like an afterthought, because that is exactly what you are to these businesses. Let us start with shopping centers. Malls in this area are outdated, overpriced, and designed to frustrate visitors. Sadiba Best Mall is a perfect example. The parking situation alone should be enough to warn anyone away. Customers complain about being charged absurd fees after just 1 hour, making quick shopping trips an unnecessary financial burden. The parking lot itself is poorly maintained, dark, slippery, and unpleasant. This is not a place that welcomes you, it is a place that punishes you for daring to enter. Inside, the shops are disappointing, described as nothing more than home decor stores with overpriced goods. The IMAX cinema, once a selling point, is now outdated and barely functional. If you are looking for a proper shopping experience, this is not the place. Then there are the beauty and wellness services. Yasumi Med Aesthetic in Wawa presents itself as a professional clinic, but fails miserably in execution. Customers report dangerous negligence, such as laser hair removal treatments that burn skin and damage moles, leading to medical complications. When confronted, the staff deflects blame instead of taking responsibility. Even simple manicures are unreliable, peeling within days, yet the salon refuses to fix these mistakes without charging extra. This is not just poor service, it is outright exploitation of trust. Now let us discuss dining options, or rather, the lack of decent ones. Seafood House Grill Wine is a prime example of how restaurants here prioritize profit over quality. The prices are outrageous for what you receive. A simple meal can leave you with stomach pain, and the so-called gourmet seafood dishes taste like supermarket frozen food. Customers report paying hundreds of dollars for tasteless, overcooked seafood served with bizarre, unappetizing presentations. The only thing worse than the food is the feeling of being scammed after the bill arrives. Nightlife in this area is equally disappointing. Enklawa Art Music Club is a textbook example of a predatory establishment. Foreigners are targeted by staff who encourage them to buy overpriced drinks for hired women who earn commissions. The bouncers are notorious for their discriminatory attitudes, turning away guests based on arbitrary dress codes or simply because they do not look the part. There are even reports of drink spiking, yet security does nothing. Instead, they shove victims out onto the street. The music is laughably bad, with DJs pretending to mix tracks while playing outdated pop songs. This is not a club, it is a trap. Finally, retail stores in the area like TFH Concept Store are plagued by unprofessionalism. The staff is rude, dismissive, and often late opening their own shops. Customers report being treated with outright hostility, making even the simplest shopping experience unpleasant. The beautiful storefronts mean nothing when the people inside cannot provide basic courtesy. In summary, businesses near Uniwersytet Kardynała Stefana Wyszyńskiego, Warsaw, are unreliable at best and exploitative at worst. If you must visit this area,